The ASU football team isn't in Kansas anymore. A furious second-half rally comes up just short in the playoffs, and the season is over.
We'll take a look back at that heartbreaking loss and also give you a brief preview of the 2012 season. It's the Chris Thomsen Show right now.
Welcome to the final edition of the Chris Thomsen Show for 2011. We're ending a couple of weeks earlier than we had hoped. Grant Boone along with Coach Chris Thomsen. Austin Gwynn will be along later, and I hope you'll stick around at the end of the show and see some of the names who've helped bring you the Chris Thomsen Show in 2011. The students of the JMC department at Abilene Christian have done a great job. Coach, you lose a couple of weeks ago to Washburn, 52-49 in the first round of the playoffs. You've had a few days to reflect on that game and on the season. So when you immediately think of 2011, do you think of the sting of that loss, or do you think of the overall success?
Probably both. You always remember the last game regardless of what happens, and that was a great football game with Washburn. They have a great team, great program. We played them before and knew what we were getting into and had a great chance to win that game. Our team showed a lot of heart in coming back and giving us a chance to win, but just didn't get it done, and credit Washburn. They did a great job in that game as well, and it was just a hard-fought game. But overall, just thinking about the 2011 season, I think about a lot of great players that worked really hard to make a great season out of 2011, and real proud of what our players and coaches accomplished.
We'll talk about some of the guys that you are now saying goodbye to, who are leaving your program a little bit later on in the show. But I know you've already begun working toward the 2012 season. What are you looking for as you are hitting that recruiting trail?
Well, really everything. I mean, at Division II, you only have 36 scholarships, so you never have enough people in your program to replenish every position. So you're always looking for every spot. We'd like to sign a transfer, at least one at just about every position, and like to sign 2 or 3 high school kids at each position. So specifically defensive line help with Ashton and Donald moving on. We've got some good core players there, but definitely need to pick up a couple of transfer guys to help at that position and also in the secondary.
Okay, Coach, we'll talk more about the 2012 season a little bit later on in the show, but when we come back, we'll look back at the highlights of that playoff game against Washburn in Topeka, Kansas a couple of weeks ago. Stay with us on the Chris Thomsen Show.
The ASU Wildcat football team traveling up to Topeka, Kansas for their first-round NCAA playoff game against Washburn University. You see a couple of fans of the purple and white were able to make the trip, including that man right there, Dr. Royce Money, here to see his Wildcats. But the Ichabods started out hot. Harlan Hill candidate Dane Semino finding receiver Matt Kobeman there. And here's running back Justin Cooper, who will just sneak into the corner of the end zone from 14 yards out. Ichabods up early, 7-0. Wildcats need an answer, and they get one from senior running back Daryl Richardson. Richardson makes a couple of nice moves, scampers into the end zone. This thing's tied up early at 7. Washburn's second offensive drive looks a lot like their first. Cooper, end zone, 12 yards out. Washburn up 14-7, but on a 4th down, Mitchell Gale is able to sneak it into the end zone, pushes the pile forward. The Wildcats tie it up at 14. It's going to be a high-scoring game, and it stayed that way. Ichabod's third offensive drive will result in the same thing that their first two did, 6 points. That was Semino to Kobeman as he rolls into the end zone. Wildcats need a big play of their own, and they get one. Poor tackling by the Washburn defense lets freshman receiver DeMarcus Thompson escape, and he'll get in the end zone from 73 yards out. All tied up at 21. Each team has scored a touchdown on every drive, and on Washburn's 4th drive, they only get a field goal. It looks like a success for the Cats, except that they can't do anything on offense. And Washburn, their next time they touch the ball, get in the end zone again. Cooper, his third touchdown of the first half. Washburn goes up by 10, 31-21, and they keep piling on the points. This time, Sean McPherson will run the ball into the end zone. They're up 38-21, still in the first half. Wildcats need a Hail Mary.
ACU in the NCAA playoffs a couple of weeks ago in Topeka, Kansas, taking on Washburn. 52-49 win for the home Ichabods.
Not a great half defensively for the Cats, to say the least. And the second half doesn't start out great for him either, as that's Cooper's fourth TD of the game. They're down 45-21 now, in need of a miracle. And here's a big play. This is what they need. Gale finds Taylor Gabriel, 71 yards to pay dirt. Gabriel finally didn't have a catch in the first half, finally gets one in the second half. He goes for 71. And here's another catch for Gabriel. This one's also worth a touchdown. Wildcats chipping away at that lead, 45-34. They need points on every drive, and here's Gale finding senior Richardson. Richardson, boy, he was shifty all day, 250 yards of total offense, showing some love for the camera. Wildcats have cut a 24-point lead to just 3. They need a stop on defense, 3rd and 23, and the Washburn Ichabods make the play of the game on a 3rd and 23. Semino completes a 61-yard pass to Ronell Garner. Makes it a 10-point game. About a minute left to go. The Wildcats got to have something happen. There's Sharkandrick West getting in the end zone. Cuts the lead back down to 3. They got to have the onside kick, though. The ball bounces around, and the Ichabods recover it. That will be the game. The Wildcats suffer a heartbreaking loss, get knocked out of the playoffs early for another year. 52-49. Washburn moves on. The Wildcats finish the year at 8-3.
So a very similar script to last season, Coach. You give up a lot of points early. The defense stiffens in the second half. You make a furious rally. Last year against Central Missouri, you fell behind 35-6, got within 1 a couple of times, had a chance to take the lead. Again, here you fall behind big. These are teams, Central Missouri last year and Washburn, who are not slouches on offense, both top 10 in the nation at the times you played them. How good was Washburn? Because I know you always start with crediting the opponent.
Well, their quarterback's a great player. I've had several NFL scouts ask me my opinion on Dane Semino, and we've played him twice now, and he's a phenomenal player. Glad he's graduating and moving on. And
he does have an NFL look, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's a big guy, and they're intrigued by his abilities. And the offensive line for Washburn, big, physical, strong group, and good core of receivers and running backs. So well-rounded group on offense, and we knew going in they'd be hard to slow down.
Yeah, so they score on their first 7 possessions, 6 touchdowns and a field goal. You always grade your players on assignment, technique, and effort. So second straight year you've given up at least 50 points in the playoffs. When you look at those 3 things, are the mistakes in one area more than the other?
I think, what was disappointing looking at the film, I mean, again, Washburn's got a great offense, but some of the things from a detail assignment standpoint and execution technique-wise just weren't that clean in some areas, and that's disappointing in Game 11. And, so I always credit the opponent for inflicting that kind of damage on you, but also look at the damage that you inflict on yourself, and there was some of that. So very disappointing in some ways.
Let's talk about your side of the ball offensively, because it was a crazy good performance. 688 yards from your offense, and Mitchell Gale became the second ACU quarterback in history to surpass 500 yards passing in a single game. They got behind, but 45-21 down in the second half, and a lot of people, had turned our broadcast off, and your offense came storming back. How good were they?
It was, it was disappointing to have turnovers in the first couple of series, by Mitchell.
In the second half.
Yeah, in the second half. But, that was a lot of teams at that point just kind of go away when your best player on offense, your most decorated player is making those kind of mistakes. But I really credit the Matt Weber and Tivis and Darian Hogg and Taylor Gabriel and all those guys, Daryl Richardson, that they'll rally around Mitchell. Sometimes he needs that, and because sometimes those guys make mistakes. But they just hung in there, and then the defense started to execute a little bit better and got some stops. And I was really excited about the way they came back and fought back in that game. The offense just caught fire. Taylor had a big play to get us going, huge play. And, we get all the way back, and then we give up a big play. It's just very disappointing the way we finished it.
You forced them into a 3rd and 23. Tell us about that play.
Well, it's, 3rd and 23. We're in a 2-man coverage where both safeties are supposed to be over the top and not give up a deep play. And they ran a little switch route with their 2 outside receivers, and Darian kind of hung on the hash a little bit towards the middle of the field and didn't get over the top, and took a little bit of a bad angle and just didn't make that play. Should have made that play and didn't make it. And not all his fault, obviously, in the game, but that play stuck out, and we just we got to execute better. It's coaches, players, everybody have to finish a play like that.
It's a guy who's played hard for a couple of years for you, and you may not be in the playoffs if you don't have a guy like Darian Williams back there for the last 2 years, so not singling him out. But you do look at that one big play, and you notice it. It's 52-42 at that point. You still come back. You make a game of it. You get the touchdown with less than a minute to go, and then the onside kick is recovered by Washburn, and the game ends. You lose 52-49. Looking back on that game, what a way to end for a couple of guys, especially as I look at it, a guy like Darrell Richardson, who rushed and caught passes for over 100 yards in both categories.
Yeah, he had an outstanding game, 100 yards in both areas, and just ran hard. And we talked to Mitchell all week about Washburn's coverage is a little bit vulnerable underneath. Just throw it to the running back, and he did in that game. And Darrell had a big game and finished, I think, 3rd all time in touchdowns scored.
38.
And never fumbled in 3 years. Just an incredible. That's the most incredible statistic.
541 touches in his career.
And never put it on the ground. That's crazy. I mean, I've never heard of that. So
he may not be done playing football, right?
No, he's not. He'll get an opportunity. The NFL really likes him in a lot of ways, and so excited to see what happens with his future.
All right, when we come back on the Chris Thomsen Show, we will check out what's happening around the rest of the ACU sports world. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show, with a look now at the ACU sports landscape, including how the soccer and volleyball teams finished their season. Here's Taylor Langston and Kristen Goodspeed with the JMC Network Sportscast.
Thanks, Austin. Women's basketball fell short to UT Permian Basin last Tuesday. Sophomore Mac Langford contributed 33 points for ACU, and her jump shot with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the 4th quarter put the Wildcats up for the first time. However, the Falcons made a 15-4 comeback, winning 77-67. Averaging 30 points per game in the Wildcats' first 2 games of the season, Langford was awarded the Lone Star Conference Offensive Player of the Week.
The men's basketball team has started their season off right, having an overall record of 4-1. Their lone loss to Texas A&M International came last weekend. Antonio Bell led that game with 13 points, but they came up short in a close 71-69 loss. The men traveled to Dallas on Tuesday and met up with Dallas Baptist, but will make their way back to Moody tonight as they welcome Southwestern Adventist University at 7 o'clock.
After defeating Dallas Baptist 2-1, ACU soccer advanced to the Elite Eight. However, soccer season soon ended Sunday, November 20th, when the team faced Chico State in the quarterfinals of the NCAA Division II Championships. However, head coach Casey Wilson said the game should have never been played that certain day as rain saturated the field at Cal State Los Angeles. Chico State made 1 goal in the first half before the 63-minute delay to clear the field of standing water. ACU lost 1-0, but the Wildcats' final 2011 fall season record stands at 22-1, which is the best season outcome in the program's 5-year history.
The American Volleyball Coaches Association Tuesday announced its South Central Region Awards, which included Jenny Hutt being named First Team All-Region and Sarah Oxford voted as Region Freshman of the Year. The team went out with a 21-14 overall record and made an appearance at the LSC Conference Tournament. Jenny Hutt has also been honored for her success on the volleyball team as she was named Honorable Mention All-American. She leaves the team with the 4th most kills in school history with 1,543.
Cross country ended their season Saturday, November 19th at the NCAA National Championships. Juniors Chloe Sissette and Elise Goldsmith were the only two Wildcats to qualify for the meet held in Spokane, Washington, where they faced the top Division II runners in the country. Sissette finished the 6K course in 59th place, while Goldsmith followed in 107th.
For the JMC Network Sportscast, I'm Taylor Langston.
And I'm Kristen Goodspeed. See you next week.
Thanks, Taylor and Kristen. The trip up to Topeka, Kansas was more than just about a football game. Here's an inside look at what happened over the weekend.
Come on, bro, don't boost it. In 09, Courtney Lane was like scared like a little girl on the plane, couldn't even sit straight. This year, Moosey, Sharkendra West, aka Moosey, scared. That's what Hog live for. Here you go, Moosey. I'm sure yours going to pop. Yeah, Moosey.
Hard about to beat out my chest, man.
It's your first time flying. What was it like to take off?
About the bus.
You had your eyes closed most of the time, man.
Eyes closed. Praying.
What do you think now that we're way above the clouds?
It's all right.
It's all right now?
It's crazy.
I ain't flew since 9/11, man. I'm too scared. I'm too scared.
It was a little bumpy. I don't think I flew since I was a little kid, and I don't know. It's kind of hard taking a little bit. I didn't know my ears was gonna pop. I didn't know I was gonna shake in my seat like that. I kind of got frightened like a little girl.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
How's the flight?
Perfect. Safe landing.
Yeah, usually we come out to the stadium the night before our away games or the day of in the morning, something like that. And as you can see, this is a good way to blow off steam, you know. I mean, basically, it's just to kind of get comfortable with our environment, so that when we need to perform, when we need to perform under pressure, we can just go out there and relax and not worry about failure or anything like that.
Watch game. We watch games. Let's go.
Just, overall disappointed in the outcome. Very disappointed in the fact that we got the game back to a manageable margin, and just didn't get it done.
I love my teammates. Just stay hungry. We're just a big family, and we always want to build up the next person.
Definitely a fun weekend up in Kansas, and one that I won't soon forget. More of the Chris Thomsen Show right after this.
Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. As we begin to put a ribbon on this 2011 season, Austin, 8-2 in the regular season, a 6th straight trip to the playoffs. Obviously, the season didn't end the way that Wildcat fans wanted it to end. As I look big picture, though, let me get your thoughts. Pretty amazing. One of four now teams in all of Division II football that have been to the playoffs 6 consecutive years, 6 straight wins, a season with at least 8 victories. And when you look at the previous 80 years of ASU football, there have been only 9 8-win seasons before 2006 when that streak started. When you think big picture, what do you think about with ACU?
Man, a lot of people will say, well, there's no national championships in there. But how amazing is it that we've gotten to the playoffs for that many years in a row? We've had a great run here, and a lot of other schools can't say that, and we've been really lucky to
have a football team that's put a winning product out on the field year after year after year.
It's true, and when you think about it, there are 3 classes, by my count, who have never known anything except ASU going to the playoffs. If you got to ASU starting in 2006, then every fall you've seen your team go to the playoffs, and you're one of those. You're in part of that group. And so, as you look at these seniors that are leaving with 39 career wins, an amazing class, this is a group that you came into ACU with. So when you think about this senior group that includes guys like Aston Whiteside and Darrell Richardson, who stands out?
Well, I mean, I think you just named them. We have a lot of guys in this class, skill guys that we're going to see playing on Sundays. You know, we've already seen Clyde get there, Bernard and Johnny, and I think that Aston and Darrell can make that next step, and it's been such a joy to watch them. And I think especially with this class, you look at the resiliency. Over the last 4 years, this ACU team has been able to make huge fourth-quarter comebacks, and even this year against Tarleton, against Kingsville, we've had big fourth quarters, and we almost got another one against Washburn. And this team has been a very resilient team, and you can't say enough superlatives about them.
When you look at the projected starters, though, you do see some huge areas of need for this Wildcat lineup, both offensively and defensively.
Absolutely. You got to look at the defensive line and the offensive line. Those are going to be the 2 critical places in the trenches where ACU is going to need to find people to plug in. You're going to lose Aston Whiteside, obviously, on the defensive line. But then on the offensive line, you're going to lose center Matt Weber. You're going to lose Neil Tivis, 2 guys that have had great careers here at ACU, maybe unheralded because of their position, but will be big losses nonetheless. And so you're going to need to find a way to protect Mitchell so he can get those stats. And then also on the defense, you got to look at the secondary. You're going to be losing both corners or both safeties in a corner.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some holes to fill for sure, but you also have some strengths in the receiving core, in the running backs, and at special teams you'll have Taylor Gabriel back.
Well, we'll worry about next year. For now, let's look back, courtesy of ACU photojournalist Daniel Gomez, at this photographic retrospective of the 2011 ACU football season. Great job by Daniel all season long, and with that photographic retrospective. Austin, there's a chance for people for now till further notice to watch past episodes of the Chris Thomsen Show, isn't there?
They're all available on YouTube, starting with the very first episode before we even played Tarleton to right now to end the season. They're all there.
Great season. Great job by you producing and co-hosting the show. Thanks to everyone who made it happen, and thanks to you for watching all season long. For Austin and for Coach Chris Thomsen, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Chris Thomsen Show all season long.